In this video, we're going to have a practice activity. Are we able to extract the orders which have something hot and cold? Hello, I'm Philip Burton of filecats.co.uk. So on screen, you can see I've created a table called orders and I've populated it with various orders. So I've got order number 1, that person ordered something hot and cold. So maybe a warm sandwich and a bottle of water. Number 2 just ordered something hot. Number 3 ordered something cold. Now 2 things ordered cold there. And number 4 ordered 2 things that was hot and 1 thing that was cold. What I want is a list of all of the orders which have something both hot and cold. So that would be order number 1 and order number 4. So I don't want order number 2 where something hot was ordered but not cold, or order number 3 where something cold was ordered but not hot. So if you're doing this as a practice activity, can you find multiple ways of extracting this information? So in this video, we're going to do 2 different ways. One using the where and in, and a second using a pivot. So if you want to try this as a practice activity, please pause the video now. You will find all of this in the description to this video. Good luck. Right, so how did you do? So what I want to do is find everything with a hot and a cold. So that sounds like it could be a where. So where the order type is equal to hot. So let's run that, and you can see that we've got hot in 1, 2, and 4. So you might then be thinking, what I can now do is say, and where the order type is equal to cold. Unfortunately, that gets us 0 rows, because what's happening is that the computer is looking at each individual row and saying, is it hot or is it cold? So this first one eliminates everything that's not hot. And so when we then say, well, it needs to be cold at the same time, I suppose lukewarm, well, it's just going to eliminate every single row. So we can't do that. But what we can do is keep this bit and say, okay, which order IDs are we looking at? Well, we're looking at order IDs 1, 2, and 4. Now, the fact that 4 is in twice, it doesn't matter for this particular way that we're going to work. So I can use this as a query in a where clause. This is called a subquery. So I have got order IDs 1, 2, 4, and 4. And so what I want to do is write our old select statement again. So we've got these 2 separate select statements, and then I want to limit this first select statement to just these order IDs. So I can say where order ID in, and then I need a list of everything that it's in. So I would say 1, 2, 4, and 4. So if I run this, now you can see it's giving me the right results. It's giving me order number 1, 2, and 4. So it's eliminated 3. It's giving me all of the rows. But I don't want to have to hard code this. I want a dynamic series of order IDs, because I might just go back to this and put in a order ID 5, which may or may not be in this list. So instead of going 1, 2, 4, and 4, I can have this select statement in brackets. Now notice I've only got 1 value here. So this 1 column is being compared to this other 1 column. So if I run this now, it gives me 1, 2, and 4. But hang on, I don't want 2. It doesn't contain anything hot. Well, this is when we say and where the order ID is in exactly the same thing, except we want the type to be cold. So the fact that this is a subquery means I can run it and see what I'll get. So I'll get 1, 3, 3, and 4. So we've got 1 subquery, which is giving me 1, 2, and 4. Another, which is giving me 1, 3, and 4. And I'm saying both of those have to be true. So the only ones which are true are 1 and 4. So that gives me the answer that I want. Now, are there any other ways? Well, another way is by using a pivot. So a pivot can be quite useful Here we have got the problem that we can't have on one row order ID and then the amount of the hot and then the amount of a cold. But I can do this using a pivot. So I'm going to say, okay, what I want is the order ID and hot and cold. So I want two rows at the end, which is order ID 1, 456, 124, and then order ID 4, and then whatever these two add up to, and then 224. So it's just going to give me two rows. Now, my table that I'm going to be using is orders. But then I have to turn this from going down to going across, and that is called pivoting. So I say pivot. Now, the next thing I need in brackets is what is going to be populating the actual rows. So it's not going to say hot and cold all the time. It's going to say the order cost. But it's not just going to be the order cost itself. It's going to be the total of the order cost because I just want one figure instead of these two. So I want 1152. So that would be a sum. So I want the sum of the order cost. So that gives me the first bit, but now I need to define the columns I'm going to be using, hot and cold. So on the original table, what column has hot and cold? It's the order type. So now I say for order type, and then I say in, and then in brackets, I define my columns. And these are the values that I've got here. Hot and cold. Right, I've got an open bracket at the beginning, so I need an open bracket at the end. And then I need to alias this. So I need to have an as and then anything. Doesn't matter what the last thing is. So now you can see the squiggly underlines have disappeared. And if I run this, then I get my order IDs going down. I get my order types running across. And then in the middle, I've got the total of the hot and the total of the cold. Now, how can I get rid of those orders which have only got hot or cold? Have a look on the screen, see what you think. I have to get rid of anything where hot is null or where cold is null. So now I can say where, so this is part of the from all of this, so I can now go to where hot is, I want the positive case, what remains. Hot is not null and cold is not null. So both of those conditions have to be true. So now we have got a pivoted table with order ID running down, hot and cold running across, and only those are orders which have got both hot and cold. Are there any other ways that we could do this? Well, let's say I wasn't so much interested in the fact that it was hot or cold. I just wanted at least two different rows with different stuff. So I could have had hot and lukewarm maybe. So what I want is each order ID with the order type, but to remove duplicates. So how do you remove duplicates? Well, one way is by saying select distinct. So you could say select distinct of order ID and order type. So if I run this now, you can see that we have number 3 as cold, number 2 as hot. So what I can do is have this as a subquery to another query. So I can say select star from this as a subquery. Now, one thing I have to do, again, just like the pivot, is to name this. So this is my subquery. So that gives me exactly where I was. But now what I can do is group by the order ID. So I can say order ID and then give me a count of the number of rows. So because I'm grouping, I need a group by. So everything that I'm not aggregating like here. So now I can see that order ID 1 has got 2 rows, as is number 4, but 2 and 3 only have 1 row. So how can I do the equivalent of a where on something that's already been grouped? Well, the easiest way, having. So having the number of rows being greater than 1. So that gives us order ID 1 and 4. And then if I want the entirety of the data, then I can just use an in clause again. So I can say select everything from orders where the order ID is in this. So you can see it starts getting really complicated when we have all of these nested subqueries, but it is possible. And you can see I have to do a little change. As I said earlier, I had just the one field here, the one column. So I've got to have the one column again. So I'm going to get rid of this count star at this point. So the major thing to take away from this video is that there are many different ways of getting to what you want. So what I wanted was to just have full details of the orders where somebody had been served with both hot and cold. So 2 colds didn't count. It had to be hot and cold. So I used an in with a subquery. I used a pivot, and that allowed us to have hot and cold being columns instead of rows. And then I created a subquery, which gives me all of the different types. And then I grouped by that. I then removed all of those where the number of rows is less than 2. So I just retained all of those which is greater than 1. And then I got all of the details again using a where in. So multiple ways of getting exactly the same results. So I hope you found a way that works for you, but you may have also seen that you can also use the pivot to also get you the same sort of information, just presented in a different way. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this practice activity. If you did, why not like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel and click that bell so that you can be notified of more videos when they come out. If you want more practice activities, please click the link on your screen. Or why not join me in my Udemy courses, where you can learn about t-sql, database administration, SSRS, SSAS, SSIS, and more. There are full details in the description to this video or on my website, filecats.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching this, and keep learning.